Hi everyone, welcome to the CA classroom. Today we will start with Companies Act for CA Intermediate syllabus. But however, before we get into the core topics of Companies Act for CA Intermediate, let us brush up quickly through few concepts which was part of your CA Foundation syllabus. It is important to get a good grip of these concepts before we start studying for CA Intermediate. First, you would have studied in CA Foundation about features of a company. What are the features? Separate legal entity, perpetual succession, limited liability, artificial person. A company, once it is incorporated, is a separate legal entity. You would have seen this case, very famous case in your CA Foundation called Solomon versus Solomon, using the case of separate legal entity and lifting of corporate wheel, where a company is a separate person from the members. Company is distinct, members are distinct, both are not the same. Company can buy assets, company can sell assets in its own name. Perpetual succession, meaning company does not have a life. It has perpetual life, meaning there is no date of death for a company until you wind up the company. Classic example you would have seen is 5 members of the company were traveling in the car. The car meets with an accident and all the 5 members of the company died. Does the company also have to shut down or will the company continue? Company is a separate legal entity, distinct from its members. Company will still continue. Limited liability. Liability of the company is only limited to its assets. Artificial person. Company is an artificial person. You can sue the company. Company can sue you. It is an artificial person which is getting its power from the Companies Act. So we have quickly covered the basic concepts of company. Now, which company do you want to incorporate or what type of company do you want to start depends upon the nature of company. Companies Act broadly covers these are the different types of companies. Company can be classified on the basis of incorporation. Company can be classified on the basis of members, number of members. Company can be classified based on control. Company can be classified based on access to capital. Company can be classified based on liability, and there are certain other companies. Let us quickly run through these concepts. Company based on incorporation. Registered company. Registered company is a company which is registered with the Companies Act 2013 or any of the previous Companies Act. It is a registered company. Statutory company is a company which is registered under a special act. And chartered company is a company which got life because of a king charter. For example, East India Company. East India Company, in British rule there were many companies which got life through charters. They are called charter companies. They are currently non-existent. Each of these companies, each of these clauses have a separate definition for it in the Companies Act. However, it is not relevant for you at CA intermediate level. So we will focus only on the concept for each of the type of company. Now let us quickly knock off few concepts which are really easy. Classification of company on the basis of access to capital can be listed or unlisted. Listed company means a company where the company's securities are listed with a recognized stock exchange. In India, recognized stock exchanges are BSE and NSE. We do have other stock exchanges, Madras Stock Exchange, etc. But what is recognized is only BSE and NSE. Any company whose securities are listed on the stock exchange is called listed company. Securities can be both equity shares, preference shares or debentures. Companies can also list their debentures. That company will be called a debt listed company. Unlisted company is a company which is not a listed company. So we are done with listed company concept, done with unlisted company concept. Now let us proceed to the other companies. Now let us quickly complete classification of companies based on liability. First is companies limited by shares. You would have seen most of the companies 10 lakh shares of 10 each, 8 paid up. So classifying a company based on liability limited by shares is, as a shareholder, how much you have to pay is only balance 2 rupees per share. Assume the company goes into insolvency or bankruptcy, where they do not have enough assets to settle all the liabilities. How much you will have to contribute is only unpaid amount on the shares. Assume the share is 10 rupees fully paid up. Then when the company goes into liquidation, if it is fully paid up share, as a shareholder you have no liability. Next, let's see company limited by guarantee. Guarantee company means the shareholder gives a guarantee to the company, or the member gives a guarantee to the company saying when the company goes into liquidation, he will pay rupees 1 or rupees 2, etc. based on the terms, a guaranteed amount to the company as his contribution. Company limited by guarantee is of two types: company with share capital, company without share capital. So there can be a company with share capital plus guarantee given by the members. There can also be a company without share capital and guarantee given by the members. What is an unlimited company? Unlimited company is a company where the members' liability is unlimited. So if the company has assets of only 100 and liability is 500, the balance 400 liabilities have to be shared among the members of the company until all the liabilities are settled. These kind of companies are not in existence. So we are done with company classification based on liability. Now let us discuss company classification based on control. Based on control, company can be classified into holding and subsidiary company or an associate company. What is a holding and subsidiary company? Let's say there is a company A which controls or which has 60% of the equity share capital of B. The definition says where a company controls or has more than 50% of the nominal share capital of another company, A becomes the holding company and B becomes the subsidiary company. So anything more than 50% of the nominal share capital. This is the first definition. What does the second part of the definition say? Where a company controls the composition of board of directors of another company. Where a company controls the composition of board of directors of another company, this company becomes holding company, the later company B here becomes the subsidiary company. What do you mean by controlling the composition of board of directors? Meaning this company has the power to appoint or remove any member on the board. Next, let us say A is holding 70% share capital in B. A becomes the holding company, B becomes the subsidiary company. Now let's say B is holding 60% in C. Now A is holding of B because of the first definition. B is holding of C because B holds more than 50% in C. However, A does not hold even 1% share in C, but still A will be the ultimate holding company of C. This is the third part of the definition. So to summarize, when a company is a holding company of another company, one controls more than 50% of share capital of another company, or controls the board of directors of another company, or third thing, said subsidiary becomes the ultimate holding company. Now let's see what is an associate company. Associate company means, let's say there are two companies and A is holding more than 20% of the share capital of B. The definition says a company becomes associate company for another company if this company has significant influence over the other company. What do you mean by significant influence? It has either 20% share capital in B, or A controls the business decisions of B. Now you need to see a very important point in holding and subsidiary company. Holding company can have shares in subsidiary company, but subsidiary company cannot have shares in the holding company. if such shares were held by the subsidiary company and holding company before it became subsidiary of this company, then those shares can be valid. After it becomes holding company, the subsidiary company, if it purchases any new shares in the holding company, such a transaction will be void. Now let us see how companies are classified based on number of members. One-person company is a big concept which we will deal with separately. Let us complete private limited company, public limited company and small company. The Act defines public company as a company which is not a private company. Let us see what a private company is. Now let us quickly revise the concepts of private company. Private company is a company where minimum number of members is 2, maximum is 200. There is restriction and transferability of shares. You can transfer shares only within the members and outside transferability is restricted. Raising capital, you cannot raise capital from the public. So what is important here is, how do I compute the limit of 200? To count 200 members, what is included, what is not included? 1. In case of joint members where husband and wife together own a share, you will only count it as 1. Second, any employees of the company who have received shares from the company, those count will not be included for the purpose of the count of 200. 3. Any ex-employees of the company who received shares during the course of their employment and still continue to be shareholders after termination of employment, even those members will not be counted for the purpose of 200. It is important to note the maximum number of members in a private company should not exceed 200. What is a public company next? As already discussed, public company is a company which is not a private company. In case of public company, minimum number of members is 7. There is no upper limit for public company. One more important point to note in a private company is there is no minimum paid up share capital requirement to incorporate the company. Now, let us move to a small company next. In the previous section, we had discussed about private company. Now, let us see what is a small company. Small company is a company where the paid up share capital of the company does not exceed 50 lakhs and the turnover of the company does not exceed 2 crores. These numbers should be as per the latest financial statements. However, central government is having the power to extend these limits. In future, this 50 lakhs can extend up to 10 crores and turnover of 2 crores can extend up to 100 crores. So in short, small company is a company where the paid up share capital does not exceed 50 lakhs or such other amount which can be prescribed by the central government, not more than 10 crores, or a turnover which does not exceed 2 crores or such other amount which the central government may specify in the future which does not exceed 100 crores. Why do we have the concept of small company? If you look at the unorganized sector, there is a lot of unorganized sector doing small businesses. If they have to incorporate as a private limited company, they have lot of compliances to do. But their turnover will be less than 2 crores. Lot of these retail shops, small companies, if they register as a private company, their cost of compliance for a year itself might be around 10 to 30,000, which is equal to one employee's salary, which they do not have to afford. In case of a small company, their legal cost will reduce because they have lot of exemptions, lot of things they need not file as a private company, and hence the concept of small company. But however, this is not a very successful model after it's been introduced. Not many companies have been registered as a small company. Now let us proceed to the next concept of other companies. But before which, this is important because these limits have been amended recently, so you have to make note of these. Now let us quickly complete what are the different types of other companies. First, government company. Government company is a company in which not less than 51% of the paid up share capital of the company is held either by central government or by state government or a combination of both. For example, let's take X Limited. In X Limited, 55% of the share capital is held by the central government. This becomes a government company. Let's take another company, Y Limited, where 30% of the share capital is held by central government and 30% of share capital is held by state government. Combination, it becomes a government company. Third case, let's say 60% of share capital is completely held by state government. Even then it becomes a government company. So entirely by central government or state government or a combination of both. Now let's say X Limited is a government company. X Limited has a subsidiary company called Z Limited where it has 60% share capital. But in Z Limited, central government or state government is not holding any share. Will Z Limited be a government company? Yes. Subsidiary of a government company will also be a government company. Coming to foreign company. Foreign company is a company which has a place of business in India. What do you mean by place of business? Now, foreign company is a company which is incorporated outside India but has a place of business in India either through an agent or through any e-commerce mode or through any physical presence. It has a physical office through any mode. It has a place of business in India. Classic example is Uber. Now Uber has offices across India, but at the initial stages when Uber launched, they did not have any office in India. They were operating just through an app, through e-commerce. Therefore, it becomes a foreign company. What do you mean by Nidhi company? Again, Nidhi company is very simple. A company is formed, let's say by a community or group of people. They get deposits from that community and give loans to people within that community, and there will be some terms on that interest given on loan and interest received on deposits. Very similar to your self-help groups which you have studied in your school. So again, Nidhi company is a foundation part syllabus. Interest not much it is tested. Public financial institutions. What do you mean by public financial institutions? Public financial institution is a company which is incorporated by a special act. Example, LIC, Life Insurance Corporation, incorporated under a special act which is passed by the parliament, or any company in which not less than 51% of the paid up share capital is held by central government or state government or combination of both. Lastly, we have Section 8 company and dormant company. Let us discuss Section 8 company in the next section. Let us see what is a dormant company. Now, you know, for example, to develop a patent, it might take 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. During this process, you will want to register the patent in a company's name. But there will not be any significant accounting transaction. So, dormant company is a company which is incorporated mainly for the purpose of holding any asset or an intellectual property, but it does not have any significant accounting transactions. That is called a dormant company. So, how to be a dormant company? Either incorporate as a dormant company or any other company, public or private, will become a dormant company if they do not file their financial statements and annual return for a period of 2 years, for a period of 2 years. So this is about all types of companies. Next section, now let us discuss what is a Section 8 company. In the previous section we had discussed about small company. Now let us see two important concepts which are important at your CA inter level. Section 8 company and one person company. What is a Section 8 company? Now, many a times you would have seen people asking for charity, help the poor people, help street dogs, help people for education. All these organizations are called Section 8 companies. All those companies which are incorporated for the purpose of any charitable purposes, education, to promote art, to promote sports, for any religious purpose, etc., is called a Section 8 company. Now, Section 8 company has lot of benefits and privileges. For example, a Section 8 company need not use the word private limited or public limited behind its name. It can use words like club, chambers, etc. But to use these words and have these benefits, it should obtain a license. It should obtain a special license from the central government to operate for these charitable purposes. The main motto of all these companies is to promote all these areas and not earn profit or have little profit. How will they get money for operating? Mainly they will get money from donations from anonymous people or sometimes from known people. Now, this company need not have any minimum paid up share capital. They will give a license only if you promote all these areas or any one of these areas. Let's say I started a Section 8 company for the purpose of providing education to poor kids. In the future, if I change my object, if I start providing education by charging heavy fees, and if the central government comes to know about this, that I am trying to earn profits using the Section 8 company, then the license given to me will be revoked. What will happen when license is revoked? License revoked means license cancelled. You will no more be a Section 8 company. You have to start using the words private limited or limited behind your name. Also, whenever license is revoked, central government will order the company either to amalgamate either with some other Section 8 company to ensure that these activities are continued, or they will also order for winding up of the company. Some other benefits for Section 8 companies, usually for a normal private or public limited company, AGM general meeting notice is 21 days, but here 14 days notice is enough. There is no requirement of minimum number of directors or minimum number of independent directors. Usually partnership firm cannot be a member in a company, but in case of a Section 8 company, partnership firm can be member of a Section 8 company. Also, the object, purpose of the company will be given in the MOA. Therefore, you cannot change your MOA clauses or AOA clauses, memorandum and article clauses, without the prior approval of the central government. So these are few important points for Section 8 company. Now let us proceed to understand what is a one-person company. Now, you might have seen, let's take a small example. I am a photographer who takes photos for wedding events. Now, for one wedding, just to spend one day, you get paid a lump sum amount. Let's say 50,000 for one wedding. That is the standard market price if you are a good professional photographer. Now let's say you cover and work just 30 days in a month. If you work only 30 days in a month, look at the amount of money you make. 50,000 into 30 weddings, you will get 15 lakhs revenue in a year. Now, getting 15 lakhs by just working 1 month in a year by being a professional photographer, let's multiply 30 days into another extra 2 months for the purpose of processing photos. So by working just 90 days, 3 months a year, he is able to earn easily 15 lakhs a year. Assume some proper professional photographer who works for 1 year properly, how much money he will make. However, these kind of people are sole proprietors and their liability is high. If there is any issue, they are personally liable. Just like the simple one photographer, there are so many individuals who are doing online business now, but they do not have an identity for themselves, and most of the revenue they get will be in form of cash and it goes unaccounted. To bring this unorganized sector, individual people who are doing business, into the organized sector, there was a concept called one person company. Me alone as one person, I can form a company. Private limited and public limited, private needs minimum 2 members, public needs minimum 7 members. Here, only one member will form the company. So, only one shareholder, one member. This member will also appoint a nominee. In case of death, if something happens to me, the nominee will become the new member. He can appoint anybody as a nominee. However, minor cannot be member of this company, nor he can be a nominee for a one-person company. One-person company will be classified as a private limited company. All the features of company, separate legal entity, etc., all those features will be applicable for a one-person company. Again, one-person company, there is no minimum share capital. Whenever one-person company is going to change its name, it is not alteration of memorandum of articles. We will have studied whenever there is change in name, it is equal to change in name clause of MOA, but for a one-person company, change in name is not equal to change alteration of MOA. In a one-person company, now for example, can I start 10 different one-person companies and be member of 10 different one-person companies? No. I can start only one-person company, or I can be nominee of only one-person company. Next, a one-person company cannot do NBFC business. That is, they cannot borrow funds and give loans to people, and also they cannot invest in securities. They cannot invest in shares, debentures, etc. Conversion. When will a one-person company be converted to a private limited company? Whenever its paid up share capital crosses 50 lakhs or turnover is going to cross 2 crores, then it will be converted to a private limited company. These numbers are limits of your small company limits. Next, to be a member of one-person company, can, let's say for example, Barack Obama, can he be a member of one-person company in India? No. Only a natural person who is an Indian citizen can be a one-person company's member. To be an Indian citizen, he has to be a resident in India and stayed in India in the previous year at least for a period equal to or more than 182 days. These are few important points for one-person company. So this is about Section 8 company and one-person company. Thank you.